Hey guys, thanks for stopping by again on Rachel Onah TV. Always my pleasure to have you on this channel. On this channel, what I bring to you is basically information, and information they say is live. So today, I want to bring to you a story about a 12-year-old boy who was killed in a school, a boarding school in Lekki, Lagos, southwest Nigeria. Lekki, Lagos, southwest Nigeria. So the details of that event is what I'll bring to you on my channel today. I had somebody in the studio to talk about it. So let's go right into the video so that you see the outcome of our discussion. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. This is Rachel Onah TV and my name is Rachel Onah. You're welcome. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to another edition of the program. Let's talk marriage. Yeah, let's talk marriage. This is actually a program for families. Various families come here to share their experiences. And when we're not sharing experience, we are talking about matters relating to families. Just like today, we're going to examine the death of Sylvester Oromoni of Dowen College, Lagos. This 12-year-old boy that died, that the whole thing has been trending. So I want to examine it, and I have a guest with me, Barrister Grace Ajebu, a civil society activist. She is very vocal when it comes to issues related to children and human rights abuse. So she's right here. She is a legal practitioner and a civil society activist. Barrister Ajebu, you're welcome again.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Okay, my name is Rachel Onah. From now till a 1:45, we'll be discussing the case of Sylvester Oromoni of Dowen College, Lagos. So, Barrister Jebo, can you summarize the story for us?
Okay. The story of Sylvester Oromoni is that of a boy who met his tragic end while in boarding school known as the Dowen College, Lekki, Lagos. And this was because he was bullied. He was alleged to have been bullied by students of his school, senior students, and some versions say that he was being forced to join a school cult and he refused. And so this informed the bully, and was bullied and locked up in a locker for 2 days, and dragged down from his bunk, beaten up in the night, stepped upon, which left him damaged, physically damaged. And by the time the news got to his parents and they picked him up from school and took him to Delta State where the parents were residents, he passed on in the hospital after telling the parents what had happened to him and calling names of the senior students who beat him up and put him in that state. And so there has been a public outcry by individuals, civil society, all and everybody, for justice for Sylvester Oromoni, asking that the people who were responsible for his death, being the students, be made, to pay for the crime, asking that the school who was negligent in what happened within its walls also be made, to face the wrath of the law, and everybody who in one way or the other, directly or indirectly, contributed to the death of poor 12-year-old Sylvester Oromoni be made to face, the law.
All right. Thank you very much for that summary, Barrister Grace Ajebu. Now let's look at the school, Dowen College. It's not a school for poor people.
No, not at
It's
all.
not it's not a school for the poor. It's a school for the high class. You have an idea of their fees, right?
Yes.
So like 1.5 to 2 million per term.
Yes.
Not just a year.
Yes. Per term, I think it's about plus or minus 2 million for the borders and plus or minus 1 million, 1 point.
That's
million.
every 3 months.
Every 3 months
parents will get to pay that amount.
Yes.
And anybody, any Nigerian that can afford that kind of money is not a poor person.
Definitely not a poor person.
High class.
Yes.
And there are standards that should be in that school. That kind of school should be known with One is security, protection of rights of the individuals there. Okay.
And safety of the children.
And safety of the children, first of all. Now let's look at, you had a story, the version of Sylvester's mom. I read it online, where Sylvester was pleading that he doesn't want to go back to that school again. So when the mom was like pressing and saying, what did you say? Why? The mom stopped packing the bag and said, why is it that you don't want to go back to the school again? He said, Mommy, don't worry. So what should the mom have done that she didn't do? Okay, before we go to the mom, let's look at what the school should have done better that they didn't do.
Okay, it's just sad that the death of Sylvester was as a result of the failure of institutions and individuals on different fronts. We have the school, for starters. Once a child is placed in the care of an institution, particularly a school, it is expected that the school takes responsibility for that child from the minute the child is deposited in their care.
Especially after collecting such a big amount of money.
Yes, because that is one of the assurances that the school must have given to parents, that at such a fee you can rest assured that your son is safe, that your son is going to get the best academic education, the best moral education, and is going to be comfortable while learning in this institution. So the minute a child is placed in the care of the school and the parents leave that child in their care, the school becomes vicariously liable, for that child. It means that the school becomes the parent of that child and is responsible for that child until they hand the child over to the parents again at the end of the session. So for whatever happens within the walls of that school while the child is in the care of the school, the child is held responsible. So for such to have gone down in the school, it means that the school did not have control of both the students and the staff. So the school is very, very responsible, should be held, very responsible and liable for what transpired within his walls that led to the untimely death of that poor boy.
And let's look at the story the school came up with, that he played football, injured himself. They tried covering it up and they sent everyone home. Let's look at the role the school played in this whole thing.
Well, apparently the school was interested in protecting, its investment. That's the way I see it.
They were interested in the money.
Yes, yeah, we're interested in the money. Because as it is now, the school is not interested in protecting, the weak and poor elements among the students and the staff. They are not interested in, enforcing their founding ideals. They are interested in pleasing, the high-profile parents who they want to keep coming back with their children and paying those exorbitant fees. So there are things that the school, overlooked because they do not want to offend, the parents that are paying so much at the expense of a child's life. So if the school had, not just placed rules in place with sanctions, but followed through with sanctions when such rules are broken, then we would have found a situation where students would have been very careful not to break the law when they know that the sanctions will be followed through by the school. But we would have seen a situation.
The issue of CCTV. Such a school of that
is expected.
Couldn't they have installed a CCTV in their hostels?
It's expected that they should have such monitoring devices, within the school premises because of things like this, especially when you have students from different backgrounds living together, staying together. We need to have a way to monitor what happens within the walls and the rooms and the hostels, provided that the school can assure that the privacy of the children will be protected while they are being monitored on CCTV.
Okay. So the school failed in its responsibility.
Yes, failed big time.
Okay. Now, what could the parents, the mom especially, could have done better. After that encounter with Sylvester, he said he's scared to go back to school. And when the mom was pressing further, he said, no, no problem. What do you think the parents could
Well,
have
I,
done
I
better?
think that what they could have done better is um, listened to their child. You know, before a child embraces enough to speak up in that direction, to say, look, it has taken some guts to come out to your mother and say, I don't want to go back to school. The mother particularly should have paid more attention, because there was already a history of this same child being bullied by this same set of people the previous term. The report had been made, the children, those students that were concerned, had been suspended, by the school. From what I hear, the boy's hostel was changed. He was moved to another hostel, to be able to prevent this kind of situation. So the boy still comes back to say, I would like my school to be changed. Can you beg daddy to change my school? At that point, the mother should have paused and dug deeper to find out why. A child doesn't just say that, as a joke. Particularly a child who has had a history of bullying in the same school by the same set of people. So I think that what the mother could have done differently is to have stopped whatever she was doing and kept pressing until she finds out what informed that statement by the child, and then ensure that she moved the child from that school.
So, what lessons do we draw from that as parents?
Well, I would say, first of all, every parent should have a line of open communication with their children. We've had this history of not being able to speak up to our parents growing up. Your parents' words being low, but we need to
That
understand.
was in that generation.
In that generation.
But this generation doesn't have a reason not to speak out.
Exactly. Things have changed. We can't continue to raise our children the way we were raised, because the generations are different. The generations are different. The times are different. I mean, we're in the digital generation. The access to information children have now, we didn't have in our own time. The social vices that are prevalent in our society now were not prevalent in our time. So we need to adapt the way we relate with our children and discipline our children to the times that we find ourselves now. So it will be important for every parent, to bring their children close communication wise. It doesn't mean you cannot discipline your child. It just means that you create a bond between you and your child that will make your child be able to tell you anything, irrespective of the consequence. Parents should be able to instill that confidence in their child that once my dad or my mom gets to know about this, I'm safe. She will take care of it. I know that when I do the wrong thing, I get punished. But I know that when I'm in trouble, my mother looks out for me first before any other thing. So it is something that parents need to learn. They need to unlearn the impression they have that they always have to show the children that they are the parents all the time, and start learning to be friends with their children first, because that's who the children talk to. They talk to their friends before they talk to their parents. So every parent has to learn to be a friend and take seriously whatever your child says. A lot of the time, the things that are important to them are not said under serious conditions. Children say it on that very place. They just, like we would say in local parlance, they'll just drop the word. They just throw talk, and you just think that it's play. You need to learn as a parent to read between